Welcome back to the Chasing Tone podcast. I'm Brian Wampler, of course. Today with Blake, I talk about some DIY stuff that I'm working on. We talk about his new pedal acquisitions that he got this week. I got some really cool stuff, I think anyways. And we also talk about a little problem he had with a Facebook live stream here recently. So let's get right into that.
Hi, Brian.
Well, hello.
We're going to sit here and pretend that we didn't already talk for 20 minutes before this.
Well, see, the funny thing is I thought we were recording, and about 30 minutes into it, Blake said, "Oh, are we going to record?" And I'm like, "Dude, I've been recording this entire time."
And I was like, I don't want people to hear that. I just called that guy a racist.
Everybody will know I'm a completely sexist now.
Yeah. We can't put that out there.
Oh, speaking of being sexist, apparently, I didn't know this, but a little while back we got flamed again for being sexist.
Oh boy!
And it was like, there's a picture that's been going around for a long time. It's like got two guitars. They look exactly the same. I think they're Strats. Mm-hmm. And it's like lead guitar. You do this in order to get chicks. Rhythm guitar. You play this way in order to get chicks. You know? I mean, it was like, and someone was like, "You're objectifying women." You know? And I'm like, okay, first of all, genius, let's lighten up a little bit. And if you think about the reality of everything, you're objectifying everything. If you say you're doing it for money, now you're objectifying money. If you say you're doing it for happiness, now you're objectifying happiness.
I mean...
Except in those conditions, yes, I understand. There's not a party that is quote-unquote hurt. You know? So I understand it to a degree, but I do think that in order to, we got to reel back the PC police just a little bit so we can say silly things and not really mean them. You know, just because. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just gonna say it's. I agree with you on that. It's tough for companies and like. It's tough for anybody, but especially like companies and people who aren't directly quote unquote comedians. I think comedians get a little bit of license, you know, with some of that stuff that you and I are not allowed. And like, I mean, granted, they get called out for stuff all the time because their whole job is to be outrageous.
Right.
But I do think they have a lot more leeway, and rightfully so, than average Joe.
I believe that. I believe that to a point, except in this. I think that in this day and age, not to get into the marketing segment of the podcast, but in this day and age, it's our job to entertain people. Like
it's
we're primarily an entertainment company that happens to make guitar pedals. That's how I look at it. You know, so that's why we do the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the YouTubes and the Chasing Tones, and you know what I mean? Like that's why we do it, because we're kind of an entertainment company.
Well, you're all about like trying to provide value in some way first,
yes.
Which is what you and I both ascribe to.
Exactly. It's all about, in my opinion, it's all about giving more to people than what they would expect. You know, so maybe that's just answering unlimited amounts of questions from people. For that, I would say see Facebook Wampler Facebook Tone Group for that, and little plug there.
Yes.
And yeah, you know, but it can mean a bunch of other things. It could also mean that that's why Brian does, you know, videos every week on YouTube that 99.9% of the time have nothing to do with Wampler pedals. You know, it's not like I'm like, watch this Wampler pedal in this song. It's not demos, except very rarely, you know, very rarely.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
It's just assisting, basically.
Right.
But yeah, and to me, I look at, I don't know if everybody looks at this, I look at Instagram less as a social media platform and more as a platform for a form of entertainment. I think Facebook is kind of a, don't get me wrong, they're all social media because they're all people on a platform. But
I was go ahead and make your point.
I was going to say, like,
interrupt you.
Yeah, I think that like Facebook is kind of the epitome of social media. Like it's people talking. Instagram's a lot of like, this is a nice piece of content that I enjoy seeing or listening to or watching. It's almost like a mini YouTube in my eyes. So I've always treated it with like, yes, communicate what you need to communicate, but like show people what they want to see. type of thing. And some people want to see ridiculous guitar jokes. And the truth of the matter is, there's very few teenage guys that didn't think, I think this guitar might help me find a girlfriend.
That is untrue. I completely thought that when I was a teenager.
Yeah, I was like, if I can just shred, man, I'll get all of the girlfriends that I could ever handle. And you quickly realize in about, I don't know, 2 seconds that doesn't happen.
A friend of mine, I'm gonna name drop a bit. He might actually be listening to this podcast. But anyways, so I grew up with a guy named Joe Sherfick in Martinsville here, and we just always hung out and played guitar together and stuff like that, right? And this is before I was driving, so he was actually a really good songwriter, and we would call up all kinds of 13-year-old girls and just play love songs to him. He'd sing and we just play love songs to him. It was great.
Oh man!
Not that ever worked, but still, we thought that it's going to work at some point.
At some point, it works in the movies.
Exactly. I mean, theoretically, it works every time.
Yeah.
10% of the time. So, yeah. So I mean, we kind of were doing it for the ladies. 12, 13 years old, however old I was.
I think that my wife would prefer that if I didn't play guitar. So take that for what it's worth, any teenage listeners we might have.
That could be true. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure when she gets, when she looks at the checking account, she's like, what in the Blake? What did you buy now?
Don't let her see the account.
Here's the trick. Photoshop is your friend. Simply get these statements, scan them into your computer, make a new one, edit out what you don't want, print it out, mail it to yourself.
Yeah, that's a great plan. That's a foolproof plan. Completely perfect. Perfect. No, I don't really have that problem. She just says, yeah, okay, that's fine. Now it's my turn. And then comes a new dress or something.
Yeah, that can work sometimes. Mm-hmm.
But now it's even better though, because like I'm sure you've never used this excuse, but it's for business.
Everything's for business.
It's for business. I have to. It's R&D. It's all R&D.
Yeah, I mean, there is some times where I can buy something pretty cool, but there's also times where I'm like, no, literally, I had to buy a bunch of those potentiometers. It really, like, there's nothing sexy about, having to order, well, I need 10 of these potentiometers for the breadboard, I mean, it kind of is if you're a dork like me and you like the breadboard stuff.
I was going to say, I've talked to a lot of guys that get just as excited about potentiometers as they do pedals.
I mean, I mean, most guitar players aren't going to be over the moon if if they get 50 different types of diodes on a shipment, from Small Bear or something.
Right.
Except me.
Except you and anyone who's making guitar pedals. Right.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be you got to be into that kind of stuff, I suppose.
Speaking of guitar pedals, I got a whole bunch of pedals in the last couple weeks.
You bought them, or you bought them? Or?
A couple. Most of them I bought, but you'll understand why I was able to get a bunch, because a lot of them are old. But one in particular that was sent to me by the wonderful people over at Hologram Electronics has been just driving me crazy, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, or if we've talked about it yet. It's the Hologram Electronics Infinite Jets. I know I'm just doing a commercial for them right now, but it's okay.
Haven't seen it yet.
It's super rad. They call it a guitar resynthesizer, and it does so many things. It's hard to describe, but it's got a ton of different modes, and it will just turn you into the shoegaze master once you figure out how to use it. It's pretty cool. Adds octaves and glitches and all kinds of things. It does so many things. You can create your own settings where you you're holding a note. Basically a lot of its functionality is based around the fact that it tracks your playing and outputs like different octaves and things.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like how some envelope filters are like very input sensitive, except you can adjust the sensitivity on this one. And it will output it as like synth tones or output it as whatever, and there's a clean blend and a drive section. Whatever, just go check out the videos and feast your ears. It's pretty insane. And I've been
What company? One more time, is it?
Hologram Electronics.
And what pedal is it again?
The Infinite Jets.
Infinite Jets.
Mm-hmm. You'll get a kick out of it. I think it'll feed your. We've been talking about weird stuff lately, and you'll see like, wow, that's weird. Like that's super weird, but musical at the same time.
Right. Yep.
So I've been having fun with that. I did a terrible live stream with it where I switched guitars, and so I forgot to adjust the input sensitivity, and I was like, why isn't it working? So I deleted it. But I'm going to try to do a good one later this week where it'll actually make sense, and I can hopefully make it sound like I have been off of camera. Anyway.
I saw, not to change the subject, but just like a real quick little sub-entry here. Mm-hmm. I saw a live stream the other day on Facebook that was so well done. I don't know how it's done, so I'll have to do some research. But just for you, Blake, and the other 3 people that might be interested in this side of it, professional cameras, mic'd up, professionally mic'd up, multiple camera angles, so they're using a switcher of some sort. Yeah, not sure how that worked.
Well, clearly it's all done through the phone somehow.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's got to be some sort of interface that's going on there. And
oh, that sounds trippy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the video geek in me is like, oh, that's nice. I like it.
Yeah. How are we gonna do that? How are we gonna do that? Yeah, because most live streams are just horrible, and that's part of what makes them fun.
Right.
Is that they're bad? But it's like I would like to do a little bit better, especially when I'm trying to show the sound of something.
Yeah, right. I agree. And I actually have not done many live streams at all, other than I did some Periscope stuff for a while. And I probably should do more Facebook and Instagram streams, but there's a reason why I don't.
Well, they're kind of hard. They're honestly kind of hard to do, and
I have limited things to show. Like I'm just in my room here, and I don't know.
Well, it all depends on the context too. Like I don't do a lot of live streaming like on the Tone Mob page or any. I do a little bit on Instagram when it's very gear focused.
Yeah.
But I do a lot of random live streaming, like the one I told you about yesterday, where we broke into my buddy Jess and I were road tripping back from a guitar show, and we decided to listen to All Star by Smash Mouth. And we streamed it in the appropriate Facebook group, which would be the Gear Slum. Like, it's all about context for me. Like, that wouldn't make any sense in my Facebook group or your Facebook group, but there, it totally makes sense, and people were entertained, I hope, for the 4 people that actually got to see it.
Right. Right, because Facebook shut you down.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because we had copyrighted content in our stream, which would be the prestigious All-Star by Smash Mouth. But yeah, it's live streaming can be fun. I think part of what is entertaining about it is the very fact of how raw and like, for the most part, other than the one that you just described, most live streams are pretty awful, and that's part of what makes them fun.
Okay, so I'm gonna live stream my day tomorrow. And it's going to be like from the moment I wake up, I got bedhead and everything. And I'm like, I need some coffee really bad. And then like, as people are asking questions, I'm just going to say, don't talk to me yet. I haven't had my coffee. So that's going to go on for about an hour.
Uh-huh.
And then about 2 hours into it, I'll be like, all right, I'm starting to gain my wit about me. You're now allowed to ask me questions, and I'll answer coherently if at all possible.
Well, I mean, if that's how you want to go about it, I usually just do a couple-minute thing and be like, look at me playing fuzz, and then I'm going to walk over. Oh, you remember that one time you were like, I was smoking brisket,
Yes, yes, that's right.
And you were like, why are you streaming this in a gear group? And I'm like, because it's the slum. And it's... yeah, anyway. What else did I get lately, other than talk about live streaming? I got a pretty good haul this week of older pedals. Some of which were legitly cool, and some of which I bought because they're funny. I got...
Go on.
I got the Ibanez DE7 Delay Echo. I've been wanting one of those for a while. Yeah.
The DE7 is the one the knobs recess in, right?
Yep.
I like those. Yes, I like those.
It sounds so good. I'm glad that it lived up to the hype. And
yes, that definitely does.
Yeah. And
how much are those now? How much are those going for now?
I think I paid I don't remember, $50 for it or something.
Oh, good. I was hoping it wasn't like $400. At one time, people were going crazy. A couple of years ago, people were going crazy, and I think it was driving prices up. So good to see that now they're back down to, something normal.
Oh, I didn't know. I've always heard them billed to me as to back up a little bit, a couple months ago I got a PH7, the phaser, and it sounds really, really good too, if you're into phaser. And so I posted it and people were like, oh, have you tried most of the 7 series is actually pretty good. Have you tried the DE7? It's amazing. And I had not. And I looked around, they were all between, depend on condition, $30 and $60.
Right. Well, the TS7, the Tube Screamer, that's one of my favorite Tube Screamer clones.
That's right. You were telling me about that.
Yeah.
It was you.
Great sounding Tube Screamer.
Yeah, the 7 series is a weird thing. And they're built, very boss-like in some ways, minus the recessed knobs and things like that. But
and you know what's cool about those? A lot of them have, not all of them, I don't think, but a lot of them have the same circuit board. Mm-hmm. So like you'll pull open the circuit board and it'll be the same layout as the other 5, but there's different parts on it arranged in different ways, right? So I know why they did that, because it's a lot cheaper just to make one circuit board and have 8 different pedals based off of it.
Right.
Not that they were the same circuit at all. It's just that it allowed for a bunch of different types of circuits based on what part of the circuit board you used. You know what I mean?
That's fascinating.
I was, as a nerd, I always thought that was pretty cool.
That's a feat of engineering. Honestly, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like those pedals, man. Now you make me. I have a DS7 here. I was actually I was looking on the old bay this morning for a TS7, thinking because I'm rewriting my DIY books. And I'm like, you know what? I've got some stuff in here that's not even relevant in these old DIY books. So I need to put some newer stuff in. Like, for example, there's a warp factor pedal mod in old DIY books. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a warp factor or even heard of one, but
I don't think so.
They were, 2005 or 4, whenever I first wrote that. I mean, they were fairly popular, and I assume they're still made, but just you don't see them around anymore. So it's kind of irrelevant,
right?
And there's some more things that I do want to add in there. And you know what I struggle with? I wonder, if I include modifying an OCD or a full drive or something, is that taboo, you think?
I don't know, honestly. I think myself included until recently, I didn't know how many OCDs actually are out there. There's
tons,
hundreds of thousands of OCDs.
Yeah.
That's a crazily well-selling pedal. So, on one hand, it seems a little weird because Fulton's not a big company. But on the other hand, there's hundreds of thousands of guitar players that have an OCD kicking around in the back of their closet somewhere that would be interested in bringing it some new life.
Right.
So, I don't know if... I know that there are mods for it. I've seen people do them.
Yeah, it's a fairly simple circuit, man.
Yeah, I don't know how that would be viewed. Personally, I'd be fine with it, but at the same time, like you say, I know Full Tone's not some massive conglomeration.
Right.
Where...
So I figure, well, that's only fair if I'm willing to, do some modifications for some of my stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought I'd be cool with that. I mean, hell, you can find schematics online that people reverse engineered. So it's not like any of this stuff's really a secret if you want to find out. We're talking like in guitar pedal land, we're talking like first grade electronics. I mean, there's like the old school analog stuff is really it's like first semester EE. You know what I mean? Where they're like, here's how a transistor works. Here's how an op amp works. And you're like, okay. And now we go on to something that's more creative, Now, it sounds fun as far as like, working on this stuff. Like, I don't know. I enjoy working with the analog side much more than the DSP side.
Right.
But the DSP side has a lot more intricacies in it, Mm-hmm. Many more things can go wrong, versus analog is a lot like Legos. It's a lot like building blocks. Like, here's a gain stage, these 5 different ways. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so from that perspective, and here's another thing, like, not that the Timmy, for example, let's take the Timmy. Not that the Timmy is the same thing as an OCD or a tube screamer, okay? So they're not. But if you do some rewiring, you can make a Timmy out of a tube screamer or an OCD or pretty much almost any overdrive with 2 different op amp stages.
Right. It's just all about what you're putting in between there.
Right. It's just how you're arranging stuff. So, I thought, well, I mean, that might be a cool mod too, but, Paul's a friend of mine. I don't want to throw him under the bus in any way. So, that's where I'm at. I'm like, what in 2017 world, what is it that people want to see from DIY mods? I mean, because quite honestly, like, I still see people doing like old mods. Like, I see people, it was just the other day, there was a post about what DS1 mod should I do? And someone was talking about doing Keeley and Wampler mods. Mm-hmm. And I kind of cringed because I'm like, ooh, I mean, I guess that's okay, but the things that I do now with them are so much more interesting and it's so much better. Like, that was, 13 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, compared to at that time when I wrote that book, compared to where I'm at now with my knowledge, with that's NAW, knowledge.
Oh, that kind. Wow.
Yeah, knowledge. I'm like light years ahead of where I was. So there's all kinds of things that I've experimented with and cool new tips and tricks that I've successfully implemented that I'd like to share with other people.
I think I think it's hard to know exactly which one. I seen you did a poll the other day in your group.
I did 2 different polls in 2 different groups because it's 2 totally different audiences, just for curiosity's sake.
Oh,
we call that split testing in the marketing world.
What's the other group? I didn't see that one. I seen yours, but not mine.
DIY stomp boxes.
Oh, okay. That would that is completely, honestly, way different
Totally
people.
different.
What were the results in that one? I'm not in there.
With that one, the number 1 pedal to mod would be like a DD3, I think, or a DD7. One of the boss delays, I forget.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm. It was much more DSP based. Like, let's add tap tempo to external tap tempo to this TC Electronics pedal or something like that. Mm-hmm. And not that it's not possible. Not that that's not possible, but okay. So my goal here, with all the DIY stuff that I've done, it's always been to take an idea and like dumb it down so like you don't have to go through all the math or like it's very easy to consume. You know what I mean?
Right.
That way because it's like the BYOC crowd for the most part. There's a lot of guys who just buy kits to build a pedal that don't care what the difference is between a non-inverting or an inverting op amp. They don't care. They just want their tube screamer or whatever that they built with their own hands because it's funny or fun. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not funny, but fun to do. It's fun to make something and then play through it. Like it's pretty addicting actually to just like make something with like have a handful of parts in one hand and then you put it on the circuit board and solder it and then it just works because someone else did all the figuring out for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like put resistor 1 into the hole marked resistor 1. Okay, check. And
well, it's like building a. No, not quite the same. But it's like building anything. You get done like building a shed, and you sit back and go, "Ha!" Like it's not. It wasn't very fun to do, but look at that shed I built.
There is that, yeah. There is that for sure. And the hardcore DIY crowd, whether you're talking like free stomp boxes or DIY stomp boxes, or just the bigger groups. They tend they kind of already know that. All right, well, if you want to change bass on a tube screamer, then you do this or this. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like they're like, of course you do. That's that's just the way it works. So they're kind of more into the bigger details, and I really like helping a guitar player who just wants to get his ground feet in on it. Mm-hmm. Rather than like, okay, so let's talk about what a compiler does, and then have all this code like, oh, and by the way, make sure all your semicolons are in the right place. You know what I mean?
Right.
You only have 45,000 words to go through. It'll be fine. That's not the same guy that wants to buy a TS7 for $50 on eBay and make it sound different.
Mm-hmm. No, it's definitely not. I mean, it may eventually be if he continues down the dark tunnel that is pedals or making sounds out of things. But it's not the same initial guy. Right.
Yep. So yeah. So anyway,
it's not me. I'm not even that far. I'm the big dreamer who's like, Brian, you know what I want? I want this reverse reverb flanger delay dirt pedal. Can we make it happen with expression control and presets, please? Okay, thanks. Figure it out. Like that's me.
And you can only use 5 parts to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want it to be too complicated though. So if you can make it really simple. With tap tempo.
Yeah. So
like, you just asked for something that's not possible. Like, it's you, Brian. I know you can do it. You can do it.
I want the processing power of the Axe effects in this mini pedal. Why can't we do this?
Why can't we?
Because of processing.
Don't give me excuses. Excuses are for losers. I just want you to. I want you.
Why are you hiding all these secrets?
Yeah, don't lie to me. Coffee's for closers or something.
Coffee's for closers.
Anyway, I'm looking at a pedal right now that would be a great candidate for a DIY mod of some sort. And I just got it yesterday. And it's one I've wanted forever just because it's funny.
Really?
Yes. I got myself a Digitech Grunge.
Yeah, I remember those, yeah.
Yeah, and it actually does not sound nearly as bad as what people say it does. It sounds... there's some usable, heavy, distorted tones in there, for sure. Mm-hmm. But that would... Yep. I posted it on Instagram, and a lot of people, like, you'll see, like, every third comment is, that was my first pedal I had when I was 15. And so there's so... just based on that small kind of sample size, I know there's probably a ton of those things floating around out there just begging for a tweak or two.
Right. Yep.
So that's the one I got to be funny. I got some actual cool ones too. To switch back so I can talk about my new gear day because that's what we're all about.
Well, if you want, just before you head back, I can take that grunge for you and just make it a buffer pedal.
No, that's okay. I'm chock full of buffers. I got so many buffers.
Well, because I don't know if you know anything about true bypass.
I do.
Buffering, or why it's
we've never talked about that before. Yeah.
Anyways, continue on with your new gear day. Your
MGDs. Were you going to tell me just to turn it off? Is that what you're going to tell me?
I was basically going to say just hardwire it off. Yeah. Just disconnect the switch. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be okay. So I got a 80s. Both of these are from the 80s. One looks almost brand new, and one looks hashed. But I got a OD1, a Boss OD1 that looks like people would call me a liar if I told them it was old. But
so let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
How many IC chips does it have in it? Does it have one big one or two smaller ones?
Ironically,
one big 16 pin
normally, if I would have just got that one pedal yesterday, then I would have popped the back off immediately. But I actually, since I got like 4 or 5, I haven't done that yet, so I don't know.
I'd be curious to know.
I could do it live on the air if I can find my screwdriver.
No, you don't have to do that right now. That's terribly boring for a podcast.
And I twist the screw ever so gently as to not strip it.
Still twisting screws here. Give me just a minute.
This is great. This is great casting. And then I also, from a similar era, I got a SD one. And they both, I'm very picky about my dirt sounds. They both sound really nice. I was kind of shocked because I'd never played anything, any drives of that from that era from Boss. They both sound good. They
really are. Well, the SD1 is a Tube Screamer derivative, right?
Yes, I could tell that with my ears, but I did know that already.
The OD one is kind of it's trying to do a similar thing, but it does it a different way. In fact, like I think it was called the Clark Gainster. Have you seen those around?
That's not ringing a bell.
Okay, they were really big, again, 10 years ago. High dollar, handmade, all that good stuff. I don't know if they're still made or not, but they were kind of based around that circuit as well. Mm-hmm. And there was another one, too. I forget now. Anyways, that's irrelevant since I can't remember. But there was another one, too, that was based off that.
Some of the things that you can probably tell me this. Some of the things I was reading, because I was doing some light Googling on it the other night. So basically what I was discovering is the OD one was essentially the first. That was that's the Boss pedal. That's the first one, as far as I understand it.
I believe so. I'm not a historian of any sort with pedals,
but yeah, and then I was told it's also one of the very first strictly overdrive pedals. And that I
think that was their answer to the Tube Screamer, wasn't it?
Well, it depends on which forum you want to believe.
Okay.
I should actually call Matt. Matt Knight. He's one of the hosts of the Guitar Nerds podcast, and he was on my show here a couple weeks ago. But he works for Boss and is also a Boss nerd on top of it. So he basically has his dream job.
That's cool.
Yeah, he could tell me. He could tell me the details on that, but I'm gonna have to ask him. But basically, in a nutshell, I was like, "This all sounds really good." The SD1, was one of my favorite overdrives. That I'm not a big Tube Screamer guy, like in the standard TS9 sense. They're not my favorite, but this was one of my favorite Tube Screamer variants that I knew was a Tube Screamer, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I probably own several overdrives that I don't know are based on a Tube Screamer because they don't really sound like it.
Right.
But as far as ones I knew were from that family, that SD1 sounds really nice.
Well, there's a lot you could do with it. You've heard of the Dumbloid, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's basically a very, very, very tweaked Tube Screamer type of thing. But when you play it, it doesn't sound like a Tube Screamer.
Right.
And there's a bunch of stuff that's based around that circuit. I mean, but here again, that's where I go back to my analogy about hamburgers. Just because you buy a hamburger from McDonald's doesn't mean that all hamburgers taste like a McDonald's hamburger. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's a lot more things that you can do with meat and some bread.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's true. To further that analogy, there's a McDonald's hamburger, and there are then some super fancy thing you would get at a brewery or something. They're almost completely different meals.
Right.
But there are still burgers, but they're almost completely different meals in how they taste. So it's a good analogy.
And unfortunately, in the guitar community, a lot of people like to think that, it's just a McDonald's hamburger. And it's so far away from the truth. There's so many things. Just because the basic circuit looks like that, does it that only tells you 10% of the story. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So stop it, guys. Stop.
Let's see. Moving on. Those were the two kind of more, I would guess, say desirable pedals I got yesterday.
I love those old SD1s, man. I love them.
Yeah, that's it. It's cool, and I love. So what's weird about me is, I'm sure that I'm not alone in this. The OD one looks almost brand new. I'm guessing it was just stuck in somebody's closet for a long time. The SD one is kind of beat up. One of the knobs is missing the chrome piece on it, and has paint flaking all over the place.
It's relict.
Yeah, the SD one looks so much cooler to me, being all beat up like that.
But if you want to, I offer that service.
We talked about it. You drive it behind a golf cart or something?
Exactly. Just pull it behind a golf cart, going down the gravel road for a little bit. Be surprised how good of a relicking job that does.
I'm sure I would just be shocked. I don't know. It looks like it had been on like Kurt Cobain's board for a year or something. I don't know. It just looks cool. But moving on, because, let's talk all about my new stuff.
Sorry.
No, we're talking about my new stuff, Brian. I have to tell people how cool I am.
They won't believe it.
Yeah, if they've gotten this far in the podcast, they know that is absolutely not true. I got I don't know really why I bought this, because I already knew what it was, but it was kind of like a package deal. I bought it all from this one guy. It's a DOD FX50, which I know is just well, it's still old, but a newer version of the 250.
I'm trying to remember the FX50. I'm trying to remember what that looks like.
It's in that DOD enclosure where before they tried to like completely go boss style, where they had
I just wish there was a website I could look stuff up and find out.
Oh, it's almost like there's americaspedal.com or something like that.
Okay, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay. You got the FX50 pulled up?
Yep. So it looks just like a ODR 250.
Yeah, I'm positive that it's the same circuit. It sounds very similar, but it just so happens I love those with my Benson amp. I love how 250 style or circuits sound.
So let me look at the schematic here.
Okay.
Let's see. So you got that's buffered though. Yeah,
it is.
That gain stage is doing the same thing. Diode to ground with a capacitor to ground and a volume that goes into. Ooh, that's different.
Oh.
Wait a minute. That can't be right. That shows 3 different potentiometers. The pedal only has 1 potentiometer.
Has 2.
That's a DOD FX50B. Oh my gosh, guys, that's not the same thing.
Oh.
That had me all confused. I'm like, what's the other pot doing? That wouldn't be a trim pot.
This is great podcasting material. Everyone loves hearing us talk about things they can't see.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it in real time, but I'm not having any luck. So more than likely, yeah, it's probably based off roughly the same thing.
Yeah, because it sounds really, really similar and has that kind of open, crispy sound. And it sounds really good, but I didn't really need it, but I have it anyway. So
found it. Okay. Yes, buffered. Gain stage. Yep, same thing. Just buffered.
Yep, I figured that's exactly what I thought. Wow, my deductive reasoning skills have improved.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh?
Hold on. Hold the door. I think I see 4 diodes in this one. We're talking about ODR 250, right?
Talking about the DOD preamp 250.
Now, what was the first one called? You had the Distortion Plus, and you had the DOD
preamp 250. I know they're essentially the same thing. I can walk over and get one out of the cabinet.
No, that won't help me. I'm just going to look up schematics, see? Because, I can tell from the controls that, yeah, same thing.
We are the biggest dorks ever.
Okay, here I go. Okay, yes. Okay, well, the main thing, like a 250 is not going to be true bypass, or at least in this schematic it's not.
They're not.
This is the older ones.
Yep. They're definitely not.
Yeah, okay, so you got a little bit of something different going on there. So you have soft clipping on your FX50. You have soft clipping and hard clipping, both.
Oh,
okay?
really? On the original, it's just hard.
On the preamp 250, it's just hard clipping, yeah. Now, not that can't be done. Like, those mods can be implemented, for sure.
Interesting. I didn't A/B them last night. I just plugged it in and went, "Yep, this sounds really similar." But now that you mention it, something I forgot about. The 250, I don't really like it. I love it. I love that pedal, but I don't really like it past about 50% is about max gain for me. Otherwise, it's kind of that hard clipping is a little crispy and a little weird. This one had a much broader sweep to my ears. Like I could go almost all the way across the gain knob, and it sounded, or the distortion knob, I should say, on it, as it's labeled,
Right.
and it sounded pretty good. So I did notice that last night, but I thought the sound is very similar, but it does sound better across a wider gain range.
It'll be similar. Also different op amps too. So you're talking. I think it says it's like TLO62, which is a pretty common op amp, versus on the preamp 250s. The op amp was a 741, which kind of took off some high end and just had I don't know. You're actually clipping the op amp a little bit whenever you don't have feedback diodes in the feedback there. So it's gonna be a little different, man. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to actually full blown A/B them here in a little while. Except I think I only have one of those stupid little power adapters. I have to get another one of those. Well, I'll A/B them and report back on the sonic differences now that we've bored everyone with the the schematic that they can't see.
I can describe it. See, the line comes in, it goes through a capacitor, it goes through a resistor, then hits the.
Well, since you're on that website already, we might as well talk about the last new gear acquisition from yesterday, which would be the DOD FX75 Stereo Flanger. And it sounds like a flanger. And with flangers, you know what I like to do with them is pummel them with dirt, and then it sounds super cool.
I used to think that was pronounced flanger when I was a kid.
I had honestly no idea how to pronounce it until probably 3 years ago. So
yeah, I remember talking to going to the guitar store, like, you guys have any flangers? I'm like, what's a flanger? That purple Boss flanger, that BF2. That would be
I got one of those a couple weeks ago.
That'd be a flanger, son.
So what can you tell me, since we've already bored everyone who's not interested has already turned it off? They're like, oh, schematics, here we go. What can you tell me about this FX75?
Oh, let's see here. This is a stereo output dealio, isn't it?
It sure is. Hence, stereo flanger.
Mm-hmm. Pretty standard stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a very good schematic. I can't see the part numbers very well.
I should note, just for anyone who's a DoD nerd, these have the battery doors still on them, which is very rare.
That is rare. Yeah, very rare. Yeah, so I mean, there's a handful of ways of doing the flanger. It's
flanging.
I can't even see what chips they're using in it, so it's hard to tell exactly, but same basic premise. You're going to delay the signal a little bit and make it do what flange does. Mm-hmm. Sum them together, and one gets a little bit out of phase with the other signal, and it flangs.
It just flangs all over the place.
Yeah, sort of similar-ish to chorus and
phaser.
Phaser, yeah, kind of, sort of.
I know you're not big into any of those, but if you had to order them 1 through 3 as your favorite, like, which modulation style do you prefer?
Well, I'd have to ask you, what am I playing?
You're playing post rock.
Post rock? What the hell's post rock?
Oh man.
What's that? I'm not even familiar with that. Is that like punk rock?
No, it's hard to describe. There's usually a lot of effects involved, so you should probably get familiar. Use old man
terms. You got to use old man terms with me. It's like if you take Van Halen and you take away his phaser. No, I mean,
it's not like that.
I don't know what that is.
It's like it's kind of like one of those made up things, but like somehow people kind of know what it means. it's like trying to think of like a very like a band that would fit that description. I don't know, but basically it's kind of like ambient, not super ambient in the way that you'd think of like explosions in the sky or something, but like like something like dirty guitars with lots of reverb and modulation.
No, I got you. I got you. So I've heard stuff like that. I just not into it very much. Man, if someone was twisting my arm to play that, I don't know. I probably would do something with the flanger.
The flanger, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, me personally as a player, like what I would like to do is have a very, I actually would prefer.
You just want to take it all and throw it in the garbage.
No, this is where everyone's going to hate me. So like, I actually like the sound on some things of having a stereo setup with a very good DSP based chorus on the tail end. Not thick, drenched 80s rock chorus, just a tiny little smidge of it to add some space. Okay?
No, I love that. I've done that before.
Yeah, so that's what I like. But I also like with a good chorus, if you run it in the front, you can turn the speed up and get the depth just right. In fact, the Arion courses are really well known for this. You can get kind of a really cool, unique Leslie style effect, which is very cool.
Right. I know exactly what you're talking about. Chorus, I'm very touchy with. Like, I like certain choruses a lot. Actually, I have an old, since we're on the DOD train today, I have an old DOD FX75 stereo chorus that I really like.
Yep, those are cool.
But I lately, and it's all Joel's fault with Chase Bliss, I got the Spectre, and I've just been on this huge modulation kick ever since. I love that pedal. That's still probably my favorite one that I have. But now I'm just, like, visiting. Like, that's why I bought this FX75. I was like, let's find some more weird stuff.
Remember the old Ibanez sound tanks, the little plastic buggy looking wheels?
Yeah, definitely.
You should be able to find some cool stuff with those. I like those pedals too. They just don't hold up under heavy abuse.
Wampler Recasing Incorporated. We put your sound tanks into something else.
I think JHS I don't know if they do now, but they used to do stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not real big into like rehousing. It's not my thing, man. It requires a heck of a lot of work. It really does and you can't charge a guy $80 for that, you know.
No, that's the thing. It's like it really is $80 worth of work, but at the same time, it's not necessarily $80 worth of value when you're talking about a $15 pedal. Right.
Yeah, because there's so many things you got. It's not just someone with a drill going, oh, this looks to be about where the hole goes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's CNC stuff involved, and then if you're printing or if you're painting a one-off pedal, holy crap, it costs a lot.
Yeah.
Now you have to buy a pound of powder, or like the smallest you can, and you got to get the mix right and the amount of time it's going to heat and dry, like all this stuff that goes into painting. That you're just doing it for one pedal, and it's just not. It's not like you said. You can't charge how much you should be needing to charge to really do it right. To really do it right. I mean, like, if you don't care about like it being exact, I guess, then maybe. But no thanks, man. No thanks.
No, I think it could be. I think it could be a lot of fun, but it would be difficult to do it. It'd have to just be something you did also. It would be really hard for that to be somebody's main thing.
Right.
But I will say it does make a lot of sense, though, in, like, let's say you're a touring musician, for instance, and part of your sound is one of those Dan Electro pedals or something from the Sound Tank series that just that's part of your sound. And if you're like touring, you don't want some flimsy plastic piece of junk that's going to fail on you mid-set. So it might make sense to spend $100, to have that done for peace of mind and everything else. And sneaky factor, then people won't know what you're playing.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, we know. We talked about that at length.
Yeah, I had some comments on that one.
Did you? I didn't hear you. Haven't talked about that. What's the comments?
Well, nothing crazy. Just people like, Wampler, come on, man. That's not right. You can't do that, man.
Come
I'm
on.
like, yeah, I can. That's funny. That's funny stuff. Oh, man. That ain't the right thing to do to people. I don't know where that accent. I have no idea where that accent's coming from. No clue. That's not indicative of whoever said that to me. I don't know. Oh,
You don't know what they sound like.
You don't want to do that to people. That's kind of an old man hillbilly here in Martinsville type of voice, I guess. I don't know.
It sounds like he's criticizing somebody for kicking over an old lady's potted plants.
Oh, yes, it does. It does.
Come on, son. You don't want to go and do that to people.
Oh, why you gotta be mean to that nice old lady there, young'un? You don't have to be doing that sort of thing.
It's like the wizened old man out of a Disney movie or something.
Yeah. Come here, little buddy. Sit down. Let's have a little talk with ourselves here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's things you do things in life that you want to do and things in life that you don't want to do, and this is one of the things you don't want to do. I have no idea where that came from.
Pound sand, old man. I do what I want.
Stop trying to hold me back. Don't hold me back. That man's trying to hold me back.
You just transformed this kid into another old man.
I don't know. For some reason, I got the old man dialect down pretty good. But that and the YouTube trailer.
Oh, gang, I swear. God, he's so stupid. Oh, this true bypass pedal suck.
Yeah.
That one is almost kind of creepy because I know what you look like and I know what you sound like. I can picture you doing an old man impersonation, right? I can see you doing that in my head. When you do the troll, you turn into a different person. Like it's not even Brian anymore. You've literally just morphed into some decrepit, twisted thing.
Yeah. My wife especially likes when I use those voices in conversations. Mm-hmm. She just gives me the stinky eye, like one eyebrow raised, like, you're not funny. I tell her, hey, I'm totally amusing myself. I completely find me funny.
And that's all I'm trying to do. That's all I'm trying to do.
That's what I tell her. This is not for you. This is for me. It doesn't work so well, though.
No. Tends to not.
So
right.
aside from... Oops.
Oh, I was just going to say...
I was just...
And then...
Go ahead.
I forgot.
Well, I was just going to say, so that's all the pedals you got for this past week, all 5 of those. I've tried to break those down by schematic on what I think is cool and what's not cool. Mm-hmm. And that's just my opinion. And if anyone's still listening at this point, congratulations.
They deserve a gold star.
Gold star for you.
And I don't mean a gold star from Keeley, because I'm not going to send you one. But just like a regular kindergarten gold star.
Just the sticky kind, not even the scratch and sniff kind. Just the sticky kind.
No. Just the sticky kind. Put it on your forehead.
So thanks again for listening to Chasing Toad Podcast. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments or questions or criticisms or suggestions or anything like that, you can always email me at podcast@wamplerpedals.com. You can reach Blake at info@tonemob.com. And if you'd like to leave a review on this podcast, if you like it, if you don't like it, really hope you do like it because we put these out for you. You can leave an iTunes review. Just go to iTunes, get on a podcast, leave a quick review and, a couple stars if you like us. That tells us that you want to hear more. 1 star means you want us to shut the whole thing down. So show me your feedback on that, please. I really appreciate it. And again, we will talk to you next week.